Here are some setup and adjustment tips for the Flint and Flint Compact for Strongside carry. This version has the dual DCC Mod 4 1.5 inch clips. They have vertical slots in the metal clip, which gives you a lot of ride height adjustment, but really doesn't give you much in the way of cant adjustment. In the appendix position, that gives you a lot of control over the depth of your ride. And when you combine that with the mod wing, which rotates the grip in towards your body, and our multi-plane wedge, which is angled this way and also angled this way, that works with the mod wing to help give a fulcrum for the mod wing to act against, to rotate the grip of the gun towards your body and bring the top of the slide and your optic in. But carried Strongside, this exact setup needs to be adjusted some. One of the first things I recommend is, if you're carrying Strongside, you often don't need as extreme a grip rotation to get the grip against you. So one of the first things you can do is you can take the mod wing insert out and leave the spine in place. The reason the spine needs to be left in place is because it forms part of the hardware stack here, and you need the thickness of the mod wing plus the spacers to put the clip at an appropriate height. If you simply remove the mod wing, the top of the clip already can touch the holster shell here. If you move the bottom of it that much lower or closer to the holster shell, you're just gonna start bending the clip, and the top of the clip will actually be forced to tip away from the holster, which will be counterproductive for your concealment. But you can take the insert out and leave the mod wing spine in place, and that will give you a more mild amount of grip rotation. It'll also mean you don't have to worry about catching on that insert when you're getting in and out of the pants, and especially back here behind your hip where you can't as easily see what you're doing. Having that out of the way can make it easier to get the holster on and off. If you need to adjust for a little bit of forward cant, there's a couple options. You can offset these clips so that one is slightly higher than the other, so the belt runs through at a little bit of an angle. That will be a function of how thick and how wide your belt is. If your belt is as max width as the clips can allow, then you can't really run them through at an angle. But if you have a slightly slimmer belt, you can. But if somebody says, I definitely want to carry a Flint holster Strongside, not appendix, I actually recommend soft loops over DCCs, and here's why. By the way, thanks to Matt at Clanton Combatives for this cool cast training gun. The advantage of soft loops is because they attach each with a single screw, they can be canted, where DCCs attach with 2 screws and are not cantable. So if you're carrying Strongside with soft loops, you can do the exact same thing, and you can remove the mod wing insert, take that out, set aside the insert and the 1/2 inch flathead screw and the 832 nut. Save those in case you decide to put them back later. But you can, because of the mounting points on the shell, you've got 2 slots, high and low, you can offset the soft loops, have one in the high slot, one in the low slot, and immediately produce forward cant. We also ship our soft loops with the stud installed on the tightest of the 3 punched holes, because that's the hole that is the best fit for standard 1.5 inch belts. If you have a wider belt and you can't close the loop around your belt, then you remove the screw, set aside the stud, move the loop down to the next hole or the next hole, so you have more material in the loop to allow for a wider belt. But we ship it standard, set to the tightest option, because that fits the most common gun belts that most of our customers wear. Once you've tried it on, if you can get those to close easily, then you can certainly take a pair of scissors and snip off the excess material. It's not really going to get in your way, and it won't interfere with your draw. But if you find you don't want it there, you can certainly cut the loops and shorten them. If you need to seal the end, if you got a little bit of fuzz, just a quick dash back and forth with a lighter will clean up any fuzz from the webbing that forms the core of these loops. But this soft loop setup with 1 set high, 1 set low to produce forward cant and the mod wing insert removed is the most classic kind of setup that hails back to holsters like the Milt Spark Summer Special and many other Strongside inside the waistband holsters that have been around for decades that use 2 loops in this basic configuration to produce approximately 15 degrees of forward cant. If you decide you don't even want the mild grip rotation results from the mod wing by itself, the soft loops are completely independent of the mod wing, and in this configuration you can simply take these 2 screws out and take the mod wing completely off. Because these screws do not control the retention of the holster has fixed retention. The 2 halves of the shell are eyeletted together. The mod wing is independent of your holster shell retention, so you can just remove it and set it aside. So that's my recommendation. And if you have a Flint, Our Flints are fully compatible with all the various hardware combinations that can go on them. And if you bought DCCs but you want to switch to soft loops, or you bought with soft loops and you want to switch to DCCs, all these attachments and spare mod wings and anything else you need are available as accessories on our website. So hope that answers some questions about Strongside carry.